Okay, so it is Saturday and I thought I'd do another video. It's almost 2. Anyway, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create some kind of transition effect using Blender and Ventus. So I've got Blender open, got Ventus also open in the background. And what we're gonna do is just jump straight into it. So it's not really a Blender tutorial, but you can try follow along because we're going to create the assets that we're going to be importing into Ventus. Anyway, so we're going to get a mesh and use a plane, and we'll just zoom into this plane. And what I want to do is subdivide this. So I'm going to hit tab and I'm going to go right click, subdivide, and here in the subdivision you can choose number of cuts. So I'll do something like 10. 10 is fine, and confirm that. What I'm going to do is now say select all these faces, so make sure I'm in face mode, select some of these faces. So what I can do is actually select the first face and then go select random, and now extrude, so E to extrude, and you can just pull them up and down. And then again, now you can't do the same thing, because if I do select random, what it does, it will select the side faces and we don't want that. So I'm going to go to this, just look down on this view, and then I'll just select random faces, just clicking like so, and I'll extrude it again, there, and I'll hit E and extrude up. And again, maybe some of these I want to move, these are connected, so maybe not. Extrude again, okay. Yes, just select some faces, extrude up, extrude up, extrude up. Doesn't need to be perfect. Once you're happy with the way it looks, I'm happy with this look. The idea is that we're going to transition from like one image here, we'll look at an image and we'll see an image complete, and as we transition we'll go to a side view here and we'll have a second image, and it'll work using UV mapping. So supply an image to this, we'll just add a material. Under base color, we're just going to choose image texture. I'm going to say open. I'm just going to my desktop and get a wallpaper. I've got wallpaper here, open. Change that. Now you can see now we have some Marvel wallpaper. If we look at it flat on, this is what we'll see, which is perfect, right? And as we transition to a second image, we want to see a different image completely from here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just say Shift D, duplicate this existing one, rotate this 90, so along the X 90, and then just move this up, so something like this for now. So now we look at it from the front, you can see it looks like this. Now what I'm going to do is actually just parent these together. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to first assign the material to this. So I'll minus that, and I'll add a new material, color, another image, second image, and open, scroll down, desktop, we got marshmallows, you see marshmallows, and as you can see we have to project onto these faces the marshmallows, so we have that. So we'll transition from this image to this image, just the idea. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I want to join these objects. Join, so that's one object. Go into this view here. I'm going to select these faces that I can see. So also want to, let me just go in here. I'm going to select all these faces. I'm going to just reproject this image back on. So I'll just choose all these faces that I can see. I just want the front faces, it doesn't matter. And you can then do this for each side. So if you have 4 sides to it, you could do it. I'm only going to do these 2 sides, but it just gives you the idea of how you can prepare your model. And just quickly do this. You can speed through this if you want to fast forward in time. And anyway, I'm going to say assign. Now you can see even if I assign these textures, they still look wrong. So I'm just going to go here, UV. I'm going to say project from view. Now if I go into my UV mapping tab right here, and I'll go back into that view. So we can see it, see the texture. So here, I'll zoom in. You can see here, I've got the UV maps of that now. And I can adjust this, you know, to this image size if I want, or I can scale it, or I can just leave it proportional so it crops it. It's up to you, or you can stretch it out so you can fit the whole image in. You get the idea. Anyway, that's up to you, entirely up to you how you do that, how you distort your images. But now, as we go from this image, as you can see, let's go back to the top. Yeah, there's in Ventus. When we do a transition animation, we can go from this to this, and we'll see we can swap between 2 different images. There we go. So, and then the idea is you can duplicate this again, and then you could have another cube. So if you want to transition from going from this to, like, so it goes side view here, then you'll do the same and repeat it. Or if you want to go from here to here to here, I'll do one more, so just so we can have an actual, rather than just 1 and 2. Two is a bit too simple. So I'm just gonna select this. So press L. I'm gonna split this. Split. For now. Oh, not split. Sorry. Separate. Separate selection. So now they're back separated now. So the reason I did the mapping is just allowed me to do that. Now what I can do is Shift D, again duplicate this, and again you can move this, you can rotate this. Now you can make these overlap again, like so. If you can choose to overlap these like this if you want. However, if you overlap them, then you have to do, you know, these faces as well. And you might not want to show that, but you can do it. There's no depends on how you set up, or you can just have it outside here and you just like focused on this area here, and then you go or whatever, and then, you know, project from there. Anyway, it's entirely up to you. I can do an example like this. So I'll say something like this. And I've got to project this image onto all of these and onto, you see what I mean? So it can get a bit complicated with the UV, like selecting the faces, but it's not too complicated. Anyway, so we want to project this. Okay, so we need another material, so let's do a new one. So I'll just remove this and this and add a new material. Actually, I don't need to remove those. I'll keep those existing ones. Just add a new material, new color, and image texture. Open. And I'm gonna just desktop. We're gonna go with SpongeBob here. Oh, let's use this one. Okay. And try to select this. Tab A. Assign this image, and I have an image here. If I look at it from this view, this is what we've got, and I might want to bring this down a bit to line this up. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And from this view, what I'm gonna actually, what I'll try to do is just do this. Let's just try to do this. I'm kind of making this up as I go along, but I'm gonna do it. I'll redo the faces, but I'll just make them all touch each other. So when you look from this view of the cube, we want to project this, and when we look at there. We want the marshmallow. I mean, we got pretty much most of it done, and then again like that. Okay, so let's start with the let's group these. So we just select them all, right click, join. That's all one mesh. You can go into here, and then we can just select these faces that we can see, or these. It's not too difficult. Alright. Select these. Oh. Might be easier if I just do it in this view, so now I can see what I'm selecting. There's some smaller ones here. See, tiny faces, but they still count. Make sure I get them, because this will project. We need to project the image on those. I'm not sure. I mean, let's try it. Let's just try this and see if it just selects what we see. Hopefully it doesn't select through it, because sometimes it does. It didn't. That's perfect. Okay, so we can just use that tool. Okay, so we're going to use this circle tool when we're doing the selection. It's just cool. Anyway, so we're in that view. Let's turn this back on. We want to assign this first material to all these faces. So assign. They look wrong, no problem. We just say project from view. Boom. Then we can go back into our UV mapping. We can again adjust these. Make sure we go back into that top view, because the UV mapping sees something else. Again, it's up to you if you choose to stretch this out. I'll stretch it out so we can see the whole image. If it's off, yeah, but you can see it's distorted. It's not the actual proportions. If you kept this in proportion, then it doesn't, but you're cropping some of the image off. So you know, if you're using 4:3 images, then you can just use like 4:3. Make sure it's this is 4:3, that work fine. But if you're doing 16:9, maybe you want to design this as a 16:9 cube thing rather than distorting the image. There's nothing wrong with that anyway. It's just slightly distorted. Alright, so we've got that, as you can see. We've got some kind of repeated texture up here because it's slightly off, but that'll do. And it doesn't need to be perfect, but it works. Boom. Now I want to go into this view here. Go into this side view. And let's go to the marshmallow view. So let's do it all the way, create the materials. And again, we just select this. I'm going to select this circle tool and select those faces. Boom, 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 boom. Nice. Make sure I haven't missed anything. Now we can just make sure nothing here is selected that we're not supposed to select. As I can see, some are selected here, but we should be able to fix that after. Again, we do the same thing. We just go back into layout. Actually, just go into here. Oh, this one. I'll just do it again. Select it again, just in case the UV mapping works different. So I'll just do it like this. Make sure I'm not selecting any faces I'm not supposed to be selecting. There we go. Anyway, and I want to assign the marshmallow. I'm going to get like we did, UV, project from view, go into the UV mapping on that, and again, scale this up. Oh, make sure they're all selected, scale it up. There we go. Now I believe I do have some side ones selected, but it don't matter. I'll correct that in a bit. Yeah. So now we've got, so we should have this one, which is fine. This one, which is fine. Now we've got to do this one. Again, I'll say go back into this layer, I'll say, and then select them from here. Seems to be more easier. Anyway, tab. Just click off here, make sure nothing's selected. Choose this tool, and boom. As you can see, I'm not I don't have a specific. I don't know. There's no. I'm just kind of making it up as I go along. There we go. And I'll assign the third material to those faces. Again, I'll project from this current view, and then I'll go back into my UV tab and scale this up. So, and put this across. Happy with that. Something like this. I'm happy with this. Hopefully we haven't changed anything on the other ones. That looks fine. And that looks fine. Cool. So we've got our cube, we've kind of done our UV mapping, and then we got this, we've got this kind of cool, we can create this cool trippy effect, where we're transitioning from this image to this image, or this image to this image, whatever order. We'll do this in Ventus, but you get the idea. Now you might notice there's some clipping going on here, so you got some overlapping going on. You might want to delete those faces, just you can delete those faces if they're not like affecting anything, but hopefully there's no holes in anything. But yeah, looks fine. Anyway, so now we've got this object made, and we're gonna just go file. Actually, before we actually do that, what I'm gonna do is actually go tab, select one of these faces, L. I'll split these back into separate plates. So separate by selection, and then L, which just selects the whole loop of that selection because it's just one object. And then again, separate selection, and then this one should be on its own again. There we go. And now what you can do is, now the axis points are going to be off, so you just go here, object, set origin to surface or center point of the mesh, object, and origin of mass, and the same again, object sets origin to origin center of mass. There we go. So these are ready. Let's just play 1, 2, and 3. And again, of course, you can, like I said, you can have another one here, another one here. You can be inside the cube, so you're constantly, you're inside this kind of cube world. It's up to you. 3 plates will be fine for this. Okay, so make sure you save your work because I haven't saved it, but I'll just save this as, I don't know, cube transition. Okay. And what I want to do is export this out. So you can select all of these, file, export. I'm going to choose OBJ for this, cube transition, and hit OK. There we go. Going to Blender now. Ventus. So we've done with Blender. If you want to, you keep it open just in case we need to jump back in and do some tweaks. I'll go to my stuff folder, stuff, and we want to look for the cube transition. So I'll sort by date. I have a lot of stuff in this stuff folder. This is the stuff I'm learning. Making videos out of. It's not really project stuff, so I'll just call it my stuff folder. Anyway, enough of that. So I got my cube object, and I'm gonna just drop it in here. And as you can see, we've got materials, which is cool. 1, 2, and 3. You then bring in the texture. That's not a problem there. We'll just delete that extra axis, and each one has its own plane axis. We can delete this node here, the mesh node loader, because it's already in. And all we have to do is just load in the textures. Well, as you can see, I've already got this, which is nice, really nice. Anyway. So let's go material 1, and they're all sharing it. I like how everything's connected, which is nice. Everything material 1. So we're just gonna go here, load in our texture, which will be the desktop. The first one was the widow, black widow. As you can see, it's loaded in. Our second one, can just right click and load that in, click the base, which was marshmallow, and then our third material, which was this portrait thing. Yeah, cool. Now we've got these materials. I want to select all of these materials. There we go. So now these all, yeah. So I'm going to select all of these. Does it let me do no light? There we go. Okay, perfect. So now we're in Ventus. Got this transition. You know, I can reset this if I want. Let's go this up. Now if I rotate this to minus 90, make sure y is on 0. Move this up. Now we can see we have the image. Anyway, what I want to do is add a camera. So toolbox, and we want a camera. So on the world tab, I believe, and we find the camera. I like to put the camera at the top of my scene. Even some people like to leave it at the bottom of the scenes. Up to you where you place it. I'm going to change the projection to orthogonal. Now you can see, got this cool image where we can see it from above. Now you can adjust this, then your orthogonal camera up to you entirely. As I rotate this now, I'll go to 0. I've got this image front, and if I turn it on this axis, and we've got this cool transition. You see, we can transition. We've got this nice 3D transition. Animate between. So now all I'm gonna do is just keyframe it. So I'm gonna get keyframe animation. So you notice I hit spacebar, and then pull it up, or I'll go to animation tab, keyframe animation. I'll call this cube transition. You can name this whatever you like. You know, you can call it whatever you know. You can call it images. I don't know, whatever you like. There's no rule. I'm just making this up as I go along. And what I'm gonna do is say we want to take the, of course we want to animate the rotation on the Y, so we can go from here to here. But we also want to animate on the X. The Z, I don't know. We'll just take let's take all 3 axes, alright? Let's take all 3 just in case. Now we know we're gonna have to change the X and Y and Z as well, position, depending on what it is. Maybe we'll do the scale as well. We see. I'll add that in just in case. But you can see I'm just kind of making it up. But as we're going along, like I said many times. Anyway, we've got images. I'm gonna start off with. Let's set this to. If I drag this along. So the rotation, we want to start off on our first image. So I believe it was 90. No, not that one. Which one? Which axis was it on? Not this one. It was minus 90 on the X. So something like this. And maybe I want to scale it down a bit. Pull it down. There we go. So this is going to be my first keyframe, set of keyframes, so I'll position that. Now I'm going to make sure I'm working in seconds. And I only want it to do like, maybe, I'll start with half a second and then we can stretch it or squish it, whatever, later. Anyway, and we'll need to go to our second image, so we're going to set that to 0. That's the marshmallow, so the rotation on X is set to 0. I'm going to bring this down. So, and we're going to set a key. So now, if I hit play, you can see got this kind of cool transition. It looks like we're doing something more complicated than it is. All we're doing is just rotating our view on these cubes. Now you might notice some of this shading issues here, but we can fix this in a bit. It might be just a missed it may have missed a few faces when I was doing the UV mapping, but it doesn't. It's not a big deal. If you can go back and fix that in Blender. I just go back in here and you can re-export that. Yeah, I did miss these faces, but you can do this anyway. But this, there we go. Anyway, so go back into Ventus anyway. So just ignore those because those are just faces I missed. But yeah, it was just, you know, we're just creating something anyway. Now we want to rotate on the y-axis to the next image. There we go. So on the y, I'm going to say 90, and I'm going to adjust my position on the y. So just, you know, move this around a little bit and set a key. Now we can go from this to this to this. Now if we want some logic, say, oh, you know, if the user clicked this and this, and you want to, depending on what order, you can do this really quickly. So this is the thing I love about Ventus, is the transitions and the logic view is amazing. So if I want to go and add a state, add a new state, S2, and then click there, new state. S is the shortcut. I'm just doing it the long way. It's just easier for people following along as beginners. You know, you can see what I'm clicking rather than using shortcuts. But so we've got our 3 states. What you do in history? Anyway, I'll call this image 1. That's image 1. This one's image 2. 3. So I've got 3 images, and what I'm going to do is go here. So we've got our state, so we're going from this state to this state. So I can jump. You can jump, double click. But the amazing thing is the auto connect. So if we click this auto connect state, and we say we want to create an auto connections and create the animation rules. Alright, existing, hit OK, boom. And now what we'll do is create those states for us. If we click on our animation node up here, you're gonna have these method buttons that you can click, or the animate buttons, basically the states, and you can transition between them. So I can go from 2 to 3, or to 3 to 1, and you see we get this cool transition. Now we can take this a little bit further, and we can add stuff to our keyframes and animation. So where I added, for example, the scale all, perhaps we want to change something. So where we go here, as we're doing this, perhaps we want to add additional keyframes. So let's just stretch out the animation a tiny bit on each one. Something like this, you know, so it's just a bit longer. And I'm going to just change this from seconds to frames. This just gives me a little bit more, you know, can set the frames in between. And I'm going to set a keyframe for the scale all here, and maybe I want to, you know, reveal that it's a cube, kind of reveal this is a cube. So kind of pull back, and you can scale out, and maybe I want a different rotation. So, you know, maybe I want it to, you know, so we're going to image 2, so maybe I want to, you know, bit of a twist. It's up to you. I'm kind of making this up as we go along, but you know, something like, you can go add some extra keyframes in here, and now if I go here, go entirely up to you. I don't like that rotation there, but we can scale out and then scale back in with the scaler, and then I can do this again. Add another key in here, scale this down. Now I'm gonna have to add some keyframes for the position to move it up as I scale down. But as you can see, we can pull back and then pull in. And then as you notice, we've got this is going from image 1 to 2 to 3. However, if you go from image 1 to 3, you need to add that transition, which is no problem. You just add that scale in here, bring this in, and maybe you want to scale the position, you know, so you can center it more. Like so. There you go. And we've got a transition for that too. Now if I click on my animation, I go 1 to 2 to 3 to 1 to 2 to 3, and we've got this cool transition going on, right? Now you once we've done that, you can add some additional effects to this, maybe, or maybe you want to have, like, as we're doing the transition. So if we go here, like, we've got all this black space, and you know, it's cool, you got all this black space, but maybe we want something else. So I'm gonna just right click, drag up, so I'll get the gray area. I'm gonna say link here. So I'm holding down the key, and now I say instance. And what I'm gonna do, so right now they're in the exact same position, so I'm gonna add an axis in front of this instance, and this is going to be my background, so I'm going to fill this space. So I'm going to scale this nice and big, push this back. What axis is this? In Z, so it doesn't clip into this. So as you can see now, we've got something going on rather than this empty space. We've got this, we've got some more. It just makes it look a bit more complicated than it is. All it is just a duplicate of this instance, and I've just pushed this back in Z space and scaled it up just to fill that black space. Now as I go from this to this, we've got this, this crazy environment like this, which is cool, right? And now we can let's add some post effects to this. I'm just taking this a bit further. So here, say I want this slightly out of focus, I can go to my toolbox here and I can say, okay, I want some effects or something. So I'm going to say, I'm going to drop effects layer on this one, like so. And maybe I want to say, I want to blur it a little bit. I can put that out of focus and bring that down. Entirely up to you. That's just so it's not in focus, but it's up to you. And now if I go to my animation, make sure I go to my animation reset, because I left it halfway. Sometimes if you leave it halfway, you'll notice that these won't work. So you just make sure you reset your animation. There you go. And now you see it's kind of out of focus, but we've got something going on, which is nice, right? I kind of like that. And we can add additional, like some chroma aberration, like some distortion, and add some post effects on top, and it'll look really slick. There you go. But let's do this. So let's go halfway. So say this is our halfway point, and I want to add another effects on top. So you can of course do effects on the actual layer, but I just want it to affect this. Say if I just want to affect this, not the whole entire layer. You can do that, or you can do effects here in keyframe. But for now, I'm just going to use these effects. It's just the empty scene, and I'll say, okay, my effects 2, and I want to use, I don't know, let's see, we've got RGB noise. Let's see what this does. So this, maybe I want to do some distortion like this, and we're going to keyframe this from 0 to 100 on this, so cool, there we go. And let's add another effect. Where's distortion? And let's do a barrel radial blur, like a radial one, something like this. We can, it's a bit extreme, but yours. Hopefully it will work. Let's see. We'll see. So I'm going to select this effect, effects 1 and 2, and I'm going to add this to my animation. So I'll shift select this so I can see my animation. And I'm going to keyframe the effects itself, animation. So I'm going to take the amount and link this in, and the amount here. And I'm happy with it when it's there. So I'm happy with it doing this effect at, say, this point. So if I go midway and add the keyframes in the middle, and again here, add those keyframes here. Also go in here and do the same here. Another keyframe. Now on each of the states, I'll just set these to 0. Yeah. So now the effect is not applied, but it only applies as we do the transition. Now I don't think for some bizarre reason, why is the which one's this? Oh, sorry. So I did the blur, but that's fine. The blur. So I've animated the blur, but I also want to animate the RGB distortion, which I forgot to add, which is not a problem. Just drop that in. Add that key. So here, and add this key in on this effect. Select add a key here. Add a key here. And again the same. Add a key here. Go back to here, change it to 0 on each state. So 1 and 3 image is fine, and on 2 I'll just change 2 state to 0. There we go. So now the image is back. There's no distortion. And as I click on the images, now if we do the transition, no, we get this cool effect where we're distorting it. We can, and you can play around with this. It doesn't have to be a barrel, or it doesn't have to be a thing, So if I go back here to here, this effect here doesn't need to be this distortion or this barrel effect. It could be whatever you want, or you can go back and tweak these, and it goes the other way. You see, there's no law. There's it's up to you how you create this effect, or what you can layer these, and it's kind of cool. But again, or maybe I want slightly less, so I just want a tiny little barrel, so it's not too obvious, but there we go. Or it can be really extreme, but maybe something subtle like this, and of course I can change the distortion, and go from these images to these images. You see, we get this cool effect. So hopefully this is useful. I'm just showing you like different ways. So just bringing something from Blender into Ventus, and create these cool transition effects. Again, right now we're using an orthogonal camera. If I scale this in, then you can play around with your camera settings, so you can make it more square. But you get the idea. You see, I just now we're seeing more of the background, but there you go. Entirely up to you what you do with it. So right now you see, perhaps I don't want this to be in focus as we land on the image. So as you can see on this one, so if I find the blur one, which one was the blur? So the blur is this is the background blur which I keyed, which is this one here. So perhaps I want it the other way around, so maybe here it's at 0, and on this one it's at 100, you see, and then I could have, as you see now, this is out of focus, and then it goes into focus, and then entirely up to you how you do it. There's no rules. There's no rules. Okay, I can say, okay, each state is blurred, and here, so it's up to you really. Go there, and I'm gonna scale this one. I can this up a bit. There you go. But play around with it, try different effects, try different, different shapes, different mapping. But yeah, it's just an idea, just show you, and then you can make this interactive. So if you had some buttons and someone's clicking it, or you want to go next slide, you can do that. You can do pretty clever things with it. Yeah, just have fun. Hope it's useful. I'll try to make more videos from time to time when I can. Anyway, enjoy your day, morning, evening, night. Have a good weekend. Good to each other. Let's try hit that 1K. Okay, bye bye.